In 1996, I encountered something that has stayed with me for years. When I was 11 years old, I had a vivid and bizarre dream. In it, I was walking alone, just outside my childhood home. There were several fields on one side of the house, and my attention was drawn to them. About a half a mile out, I saw what looked like thick black smoke rising up out of a small fire. The smoke rose and billowed out against the gray clouds that hid the sunlight. I felt a deep sense of unease and powerlessness when I realized that there was something else in the field. There, standing only a few feet from the source of the dark smoke, was the pitch-black silhouette of a figure, an extremely tall man in a wide-brimmed hat. And even though I couldn't see a face, I knew he was looking in my direction. The figure began taking long strides toward me, slowly making his way across the field. At this point, my memory of the dream becomes kind of fuzzy. I don't know if the door was locked, or if I just knew I couldn't be safe inside the house, but I opted to hide in the bushes out front. And I distinctly remember being crouched down in those bushes, just frozen in terror. As this thing just paced back and forth, I could see his long legs striding up and down my sidewalk, looking for me.
You ever had those bizarre nightmares that seem like, they just won't go away? You're paralyzed, you can't move, you can't speak.
Randy?
I remember when I was a kid having a dream about the boogeyman, and I'm trying to run away and I can't.
Many people think that they're the only ones who have these weird dreams, and then they just kind of brush it off. I had them years ago.
We may actually become conscious in the middle of the dream, essentially. Very frightening.
For centuries, people have recorded their experience with sleep paralysis, in which the presence of some type of entity is weighing down on the person, sometimes physically, blurring the lines between the real and the dream world. But there's been a recent string of encounters involving a very specific type of entity. Thousands of people are having experiences and encounters with the Hatman. Memories of my own dream came flooding back to me when I started reading about dozens of these stories. And they're almost always the same. They awake in the middle of the night to find glowing eyes looking back at them. The figure will often just stay in the corner of the room, watching them, and it's often accompanied by sleep paralysis. Although that wasn't the case in my dream, there was a sense of helplessness, almost like I couldn't move, but I eventually did. One peculiar thing I realized looking back on my experience is that I somehow knew who he was. He was familiar to me. A tall, black figure with a large hat, associated with sleep paralysis and nightmares. After thinking about all the places that I'd seen this figure, an archetype begins to emerge. Storytellers have used this template to terrify people for decades. There's something truly terrifying about the image, and I believe it's buried somewhere deep within our collective unconscious. But why exactly? Is it what the Hatman represents? Or is he actually based on a real being? Real, but spiritual, like the shadow people. Interestingly, the Hatman often appears in a trio of shadow people and leaves no doubt in the experiencer's mind that he is in charge. And many have also described him as the devil himself. But the spirit realm can be a very confusing and dangerous place. Because if there's any truth to the Bible, then these beings are, by nature, shapeshifters, at least in our dimension. One of the core attributes of the demonic realm being deception itself. But what do you think? Is it a shadow person? Is it from the demonic realm, or a demon? An interdimensional being? Some type of shapeshifter? Like I said, in my nightmare that I had years ago, there was definitely a sense of dread. This thing was after me. It wanted something from me. And that's what a lot of other people report when they experience this thing. They get the sense that it wants something from them, to take something from them. And even though the stories of these events are fascinating, I hope to never be counted among those who see this person in their waking hours, so that I can continue to tell myself that it was just a dream.